I'm going to add in some features to this synth that I feel like I'm sorely missing, starting with being able to have notes of different lengths in the piano roll. I feel like I do a somewhat poor job of explaining this while I'm coding, so let me just go over my plan. This is a simplified version of the piano roll. Right now each note is quantized, so 2 notes in a row will be 2 separate notes. I want to give users the ability to click in between the line and make it one single note. That way allowing you to make quarter notes, half notes, whatever you want. I also want to make it so that when the user is on the left side or the right side of a square that is currently filled, it will highlight the box to the left or to the right, as well as change the border color of each. And then when you do click the left or right side, everything is done and filled in one step, allowing you to extend a note in a single click. I need to consider how the piano roll is represented in both the document and within the data. When the document has a piano square and 2 extended squares, I represent the data as a 1 followed by 2 2s. 1 being a normal square and 2 being the extended square. Essentially, all notes start with a 1, but if followed by a 2, the note continues, but if followed by a 1, the note repeats. In the document, the squares are filled by using CSS classes, and here's how the classes would look on each of these. It's a bit confusing how I did it, because a square can either be filled or filled extension, and then after that it would have an additional property of an extension to the left. So fill and fill extension are equivalent, but extension L is just an additional property. Filled means solid color, solid borders. Filled extension means solid color open to the right, and fill extension L means get rid of the left border, with it basically being agnostic to everything else, including the existence of a right wall. The first thing I do is add onMouseMove and onMouseLeave functions to each of the cells. If the mouse's X position, which is found in offset X, is greater than or less than a certain margin, then you'll highlight the right or left square and border. So go to the right, it works, go to the left, it works, right works, left works. It's not working when you move off. For exit square, or moving in the center of the cell, I make a reset square function, which resets the cell's properties. And that's how you might extend a note, by clicking on the edge of it. That was when for hovering over, but now I have to make it detect those same conditions for when clicking, which takes place in the select piano square function. So 0 is an empty note, 1 is a filled note, 2 is also going to be a filled note, then change the classes of the cells accordingly. For testing purposes, the start of a note is magenta, while an extension is green. Yeah, that's right. And if I go left more, the working code kind of involves a boring collection of bounds checking and seeing if the cell to the right of you is a certain type. And it's all just kind of boring to just go over all the details here. And my whole process was just fraught with a whole bunch of debugging. So it took a bit to get these functions to the point where they actually are working. And they still are an ugly mess of if statements and so on. Is this finally correct now? So if I'm between bars, it goes in between them. Click to get rid of this one. The bar looks normal again. So let me just move on to how the piano roll interprets and plays this data. Before we go about playing the note, we have to figure out how long the note should be. So we have to keep checking to the right until we either reach the length or it's not a 2. So we start at where we are plus 1. We have to check to see if it's equal to a 2. So as long as it's a 2, we continue. And if it equals 2, then the number of divisions the note's held for is going to be incremented. And then at the end of this, I just multiply the measure length by divs note held, and then that will make it play the note for a longer period of time. Okay, that doesn't sound any different, and now my ears hurt. If it's equal to 2, we increment it, else we break. That's what I meant to do. Yeah, there it goes. There it goes. Okay, the other thing I wanted to do was hide the TriPeak when you're not using a triangle wave, because I did that for sample, so why not just do that for triangle wave too? Value is equal to triangle, then I just need to get a query selector on the triangle. Yeah, just put a span around this whole thing. TriPeak container, an if else statement. When it starts, it should be display none. I need to change that. I'll just have that be there for the TriPeak container. Because why should you have this TriPeak here when you don't have a triangle wave and it does nothing? Yeah, you know what I want to do at this point is I want to make it so that you can move this piano roll up and down, put in a new input with type button. So yeah, it says up. And then I need to just go and format this button, so all that noise. Now I've got a neat looking button there. Let me do the same thing on the bottom of the table. Then I just have to add the function for the buttons. I'll call it roll view move. If we're going up, put a 1 here. Dir for direction. So I'm gonna make a view offset within the roll object, add the direction. In the case where we move it up, basically just delete the row at the bottom, insert a row at the top, and then start inserting the cells, right? If I press this, you can see that we moved up a little bit, and then I just have to fill in the row. Take the code for making a row and make that its own function, so that way I don't have to repeat the code otherwise. Copy this whole thing right here, and just make a new function, generate piano row. So what I can do is I can say I mod 12, because we're just checking for an index of the black key, and I'm just gonna add to the offset. I'm gonna probably want an initial offset for generating the piano, because I don't want to start it at 0, which would be like the bottom note on the piano, the A0 note, and I'm gonna have to expand as well. It should have all 88 keys. Now let's do the other direction. In this case, I'd delete row 0. I could just say insert row at the bottom. Up, yeah, it takes me to the right thing. White, black, white. And so now if I go down, I should get white, and then black, and then white, and then black, and then white. Okay, now it's looking like a piano. The height is gonna be much larger now. It's gonna be 88. Right, okay, when you go too low, the piano stops. So I need to make sure that you can't go below 0 or above 88. All right, check the bounds. We have to be within 0 and 88. I don't want it to do the rest of the function at that point, so then just return and stop doing whatever you're doing. I could gray out the button, but to prevent needing to update indices every time you move up or down, I pass the cell itself as an argument to the select piano square function. Then I refer to other cells in the row by getting its parent's children, meaning it doesn't need to know the exact row it's in to access other cells for the note extensions. So it hovers correctly. When I click, it clicks the correct square. I go up, they move down. Of course, they just like disappear. So we look at the data, and if it's 0, then we do empty square. And just to see if that works, I'll give it filled square. All right, so there's a stick figure. And if I move up, move back down, it's restored. It remembers. What it doesn't remember is this. If the piano row of our call is 2, we add the extension left class. But we also need to know if the next column is a 2. We do bounds checking, and then piano row our call plus 1, and you check to see if that's 2. I think I can put this here as an else if. If there's a 2 to the right of the current cell, that means that's a held note, and so there's always going to be an extension on that square to the right. But there could be an extension to the left as well. So I've got to take this out of here. So maybe that'll work. It remembered. Yay. The thing I need to fix now is when it actually goes to play these notes. Now by default, the piano roll is starting at the very bottom of the piano, but I'd rather have it start in the middle, around middle C, which is key number 39. So here, when playing the note, I'm adding the offset to play note, but now I don't need that anymore. Back in the roll object, I'll make the view offset start at 39. Yeah, it thinks this is row 3, and that shouldn't be row 3, that should be row 42. So I think when adding the piano row initially, we need to take the offset into account. I'll just add the view offset when we're generating the piano row, and that should make that work. And now that I think about it, when moving the view, I check to see if it's less than 88, but if the offset was at 88, it would still have like 12 notes above it. So I think I need to subtract p height from that first. And now it knows this is row 44. And yeah, let me just go up. Okay, it's only going up to 86. Plus 1, this says 87, and I can select things like normal. So the reason why the piano keys are wrong on the side here is because the bottom of the piano starts with an A and not a C. So I just need to adjust these basically so that it looks like that on the side now, because that would be starting with the A. Will that result in the correct configuration? Yeah, I think so. Let me just try making something. as you can see at this point, you can practically make a full song using just one instrument now. However, it might be good to have a clear roll now. First, I had a clear button next to the down arrows. Yeah, okay, I'll make the margin left 300, but when I start making it so that you can adjust the measures, I'm gonna have to think about that. So yeah, now there's a clear button, but it doesn't do anything. Clear piano roll. It takes in an index for the instrument number, and in order for it to work, I have to empty it from both the HTML element as well as the actual data itself. Doing it from the data itself would just be a for loop. Grab the roll data. So yeah, that should empty everything. And then we just do a loop through the DOM element. So grab the P cell, get rid of those, then go and add the empty square. So I got a whole bunch of stuff. I hit clear, and there everything goes. Great. Do I dare see what happens if I try to save load this? It just doesn't do anything. I definitely need to come up with a better save load system. But unfortunately, I can't use local or session storage because that only goes up to 10 megabytes. For now, I'm just gonna hide it with a style display none here. So yay, feature downgrade. But yeah, I mean, the fact that samples aren't supported through that at all just really bothers me. And whoa. Beautiful song, I loved it.